Good day, moderators, and anybody else who's currently wanting to catch a train simulator's live stream. We're going to be taking a coal train from Crescent to Compton, or I forget how it's pronounced, but we're going to be using the Baldwin Centipedes from Train Simulator. The route is Horseshoe Curve, of course, and it's supposed to take about 55 minutes. So let's get this show on the road. And so you guys know where this is at. And where we're at is right there. So I gotta throw switches, that's what these are, junctions, get back to it. I'm sorry I'm holding this by hand. That's the best I can do. Let's see which way I need to go to get back to them. Okay, they are in the second track up, which means I need to go right here. Good evening. As you can see, this game is a little bit trickier than what people realize. As you can see, we're getting ready to go on this line here short in a moment. You have to be 10 feet from the points on this game. That's the other catch-22 to this. As you can see, I'm already cranking it at 210 amps at 15% throttle, or 13% throttle. So in case you guys are wondering, top is the engine brake, or train brakes, which as you can see. Then you have the bottom one, or middle one, which is your loco brakes, and if you have an engine that's equipped with dynamics, there will be a third button down here for it. Now this is just a task of what you're doing, basically like waybills. Blue line is your route. Which as you can see, and we are lined all the way back to our point. And this is going to suck, because this is not easy to maintain your speed. Because you are limited to 15 mile an hour yard speeds. Which I am going to upgrade, so it's helping me slow down. And when coupling 3.5 to 4 mile an hour, yes, tugboat horn. Give you guys a little bit of a different view. Way is to set up the rear engines, the trailing unit. Basically what we're doing is taking this to Johnstown, PA. There's our engines, which in this game, the way they had to do these, basically it's technically three cars to equal one, or 3 engines to equal 1. And the way this also works, as you can see, these are the handbrake applications. As you can see how they're set up. The way these engines were in real life, they're either a single unit or permanently drawbar connection in the middle. There were B units, but there's not many that existed, and Penske mostly used single axle or single units. Going back a couple up to our train, and then start the long, arduous drag. Welcome. That's the backing view from the cab. This is what the crew would see as they're doing a long backup move. I still got about a quarter mile to go before I get into the section where the train's at. Because as you can see, we got a little ways to go to hit it. And it's a fairly short train. And there's the reason why these engines are known as centipedes, solely because of all the wheel sets on them. Trying to get one unit from the point to where my mouse is 1 unit. And it's like somewhere in the neighborhood of 24 axles. These engines were mainly designed solely because of the poor track condition some of the railroads were getting into towards the mid-50s, early 60s era. A lot of these engines here ended up down in all places in Mexico, where they served out the last year's life. We're down the coupling speed, but as you can see, I still got a little ways to back up to pick up. Buck, I was running a pair of these centipedes in Train Simulator to show you some of the jobs that they would have done in real life. Horsepower wise, these are in the same category as DD40AX. Real tight turning radius through here. Right now I'm coupling up to cars. I can't go any faster. So I couple too hard, it'll actually cause a derailment. That, and you also have to obey by the speed limits. Now I'm gonna do what they call a safety stop. As you can see right now how close I am. Which there should be a coupler view. There used to be a coupler view what they had on here. As you can see, when you don't apply your brakes, you do roll down because this game does mimic the physics. Very well, I might add. You don't couple at the right speed. There we go. That's what we wanted to see. Now let's get this coal rolling back down. The mountain towards Johnstown. This is the horseshoe curve is over this way. This is on the western side of the curve. Next town down from it. Well, past Glitzen. We're leading towards Crescent now. Which where this yard is now, present day, this is R.J. Corman's facilities here. Right here was the town of Crescent. And this is how it appeared back in the 50s. Nowadays, all this through here is gone. There's a subdivision here. I'm not sure if that spur is still there or not. Whoopsie! You don't want to have a runway with these loads. This little arrow here is the amount of air coming out of the brake line. And this is your air supply. There are actual functional gauges in the cab, as you can see, as well as a whole bunch of other bells and whistles. And some engines even have functional cab heaters, which this is one of them. But you can see I got a little stretch to go before I can get back out of the main line. The scenario says it's supposed to take 55 minutes, but it'll probably be closer to an hour. I'll do a quick spin around. This is what the inside of the cab will look like. And these Baldwin centipedes. There's all the controls that the head brakeman would have. And yes, all these, most of the switches that do have functions actually, like, see there, battery isolator, generator isolator, power isolation, engine start, fuel pump start. You also got headlight dimming. Forget what that one is. Okay, that's the bright headlight. Derpy mouse for you. And up here, these are your cab signals. Penske's main, this was the Broadway division of their line. Once you get out on the main line, it's not going to take long. Basically, what we're doing is heading to Bethlehem Steel, is where Bethlehem Steel was located in Johnstown, PA. And it is simulated on this map. The funny thing is, we'll be passing right by where the Johnstown flood happened, or what caused it. Unfortunately, the route doesn't go back that far, but maybe if I do some experimenting, I could probably extend this route back through that area to the mine. Which would be kind of an interesting thing to do, because there is a line going through there now. In fact, there was one after the dam busted, because the Penske Railroad actually rebuilt the line, rebuilt it. heading over on that track there next. Doing 15.2 mile per hour. And yes, I am currently live on the Steam account. And yes, I do accept friend requests. I'll show you a little bit late, probably before my next stream on this route. Present day, this is all RJ Corman and NS equipment seen through this whole interlocking area. That's how the AI traffic looks on this map, which as you can see is another string of coal hoppers. Okay, got a clear on there. Okay, and I got a clear shot for the next 2 blocks. I have to wait until that last car gets out the main before I can speed up. Which, as you can see, in our case, is a classy caboose. Or as Penske calls them, cabins. Slowly working out to the main, guys. Once the last car clears that signal, I can go up to 35. Then, as soon as the last car clears this speed sign, which is 50 mile an hour, I can roll up, get up to speed. But with this amount of tonnage, it's going to take a little bit of time. But you can see just how long the train is. It's a fairly lengthy, fairly short train, but it's still heavy tonnage. This is what the crews dealt with daily. Current speed 12.5 mile an hour. 12.7, but we're going down 1% grade. That's the gradient for the next half mile. And you can see how far we have until the speed change. And of course, by hitting by a stinking tree. But it's clear. But until the last car, like I said, until the last car's off the main, we cannot go above 15 mile an hour. This is what takes trains so damn long to get moving. You have all these speed restrictions. Because on yard trackage, you have to be ready to stop at a moment's notice, whereas the main line, you have about a mile and change to stop sometimes. The way you read a Penske signal Three lights straight up, clear. Diagonal is caution, and straight across is stop. And down below, you'd have, if you saw three at an angle, that was approach. And you have a restricting approach, limited approach, and a few other different approach signals, as well as also turnout indication, which with Penske ones, most of them, like you saw in the yard, had a little lit indicator lamp. Ah, there's the main line. But until that caboose is on the main line, we're stuck at 15 mile an hour, which right now we're rolling along at 14.3 mile an hour. So we're just gonna idle on down the line. Just wanted to slow it up a little bit. Game is Dovetail Games Train Simulator, formerly Railworks. And this route here is about $40. The engine is about $20, which different engines give you different cars. And there's also add-on packs, like I got a slew of them, as you've seen in one of my previous videos on the series. And as you heard, the pack rates are pretty decent, around 15 to 20 bucks per locomotive. Sometimes locomotives can get a little bit pricier, but certain portions of it can be going towards a donation, towards restoration of a piece of equipment. Ah, here we go. Finally. As soon as that last car clears, 50. That was a fast passenger run. Hammer down and accelerating speed. These engines were also nicknamed baby faces. Kind of reminds you of Lionel with that overhead shot. This is trackside view. There are some areas that they actually get you right up on the bank or right along the right-of-way, showing you different views. We're up to 30 mile an hour and increasing. Let's see if I can do a Doppler shift horn. Clear signal. And that's one of those indication ones I was telling you guys about. That lets you know if you're going to be crossing over, you have to slow down for a crossover or not. Now on the middle tracks here, you are passenger. The outer two tracks are for freight, which is kind of odd because on the other side of the curve, it comes to freight on the inside and passengers on the outside until you get into Altoona, then it flips back. Don't ask me why, it's just the way Penske designed it. This is the MY Tower, which, as you can see, this is a factory here, hence why you have two tracks, but it's also used as a service point all along this line. But this is how complex some of the Penske interlockings were. They were basically a bunch of simple crossovers that allowed you to go pick between any of the four mains, which in this case here, this is the main, that's a siding for passing of higher priority freights. Lower priority would take the siding, higher would take the main and keep on rolling. And now I can roll for a little bit, considering I got all that tonnage behind me. Fun part is when I get to Johnstown, I have to slow down to 15 from 40. Especially when I go into the yard track 1. Then I have to uncouple and take it to the engines to the fueling rack. Well, the service tracks. Correction, that wasn't the main, that was the other siding. And yes, that is how rough the track ride cab rides are in real life. Lily, PA. This is the high water mark up in Pennsylvania as far as the KKK ever got north. There's actually a plaque dedicated to the people who fought the KKK. And it was a pretty hellacious fight from what the plaque states. That's just your random fact, live fact of the stream. And that was no means to support the KKK. It was just leaving a piece of history for future generations. In fact, just so you guys are aware, I condemn the KKK. That was the worst group that ever got started. Shouldn't be too much longer until we hit another one of the major junctions, which is over at SO. And South Fork is where a major piece of history happened here. You guys have all heard of the Johnstown flood? Back around this area, because this line continues on back to a tipple. Well, there's a dam that right away goes right through. It's 2-track right away through there. Well, that's where the dam bust, and that's where the whole thing came through. There was a wall of water about 40 feet high. And it raced down the valley into Johnstown, flooding out a large chunk of everything. Pennsylvania Railroad was the first responder on that one. Well, we're another westbound or eastbound freight. Let's see what that is. That's a box and truck train. Truck trains, aka intermodals, were not common on this route. In fact, Pennsy was one of the developers of it. But the funny thing is, intermodal is actually nothing new. It actually predates the beginning of railroading. Some of your first flat cars were putting wagons on, of all things. Also, for a little bit of a brief plug, I'm not making any money off this video. This is for personal viewing, entertainment only. No money will ever be made from this video. And thank you, Dovetail Games, for letting me broadcast this. why I keep getting kicked. There's restricting, aka slip caution signal. That's clear. Like I said, red would be the red signal is straight across. Little known fact: any of the Pennsy stuff, well, any of the Norfolk and Western color position signals, if you ever noticed how eerily similar they were to the Pennsy ones, there's a reason behind it. Pennsylvania owned a majority share of the Norfolk and Western. Hence why the choice when signals came up, they went with color position. Which the way Pennsy did, they just used yellow bulbs on everything, so it just standardized the whole thing, made it cheaper. Whereas Norfolk and Western, they use red lenses on the red signal, yellow from the approach, and green for the full throttle, or aka as the other real old railroad term goes for it, highball, which is basically a ball on a string mounted on a pole where you pulled it up for proceed at full speed, and depending on where the ball was at, you could do different. You could use it as speed indications, as well as train order signals. We're passing the town of Portage, Pennsylvania. This is where the Allegheny and Portage Railroad ran to. This is where one part of the canal systems it created one of the first initial quote unquote railroads in the United States. Was originally used for moving of all things boats up and down hill. Coming into NY airlocking. Alert the tower of our presence. And we pass by milepost. Which was 259. No, 256. 260 rather. That was just one of the branch lines that fed into this interchange. We're in lock. Highball, and there's the stop indication. $55 my butt. It's probably 55 minutes from the time you couple on to the time you drop it. And that signal just knocked down that signal. Seven miles to 6.5 miles to the next to South Fork. And this is still a very busy place today, even today. As you can see, even in the game, it has 3 engines staged at it. Now, the way this will work in real life, you brought a train down, uncoupled it, and brought another string back to the tipple, or in this case to the interchange yard. As you can see, the signals along this stretch are a little bit further apart. 1.25 miles right now. I might have to pause this and finish recording at a later date. I'm down to 5% battery, guys.